What does it truly take for someone to break free from these invisible chains of society? And maybe more importantly, what's the real cost of that freedom?
That's a heavy question to start with.
It is. Welcome, everyone, to a deep dive into Aravind Adiga's Man Booker Prize-winning novel, The White Tiger.
A really impactful book.
Definitely. We're going to unpack this darkly comic first-person narrative. We'll look at its biting social commentary on modern India, its unforgettable anti-hero, and themes that still hit home today.
Yeah, our mission here really is to pull out the key insights, the sort of surprising facts drawing from the book itself and what critics have said.
Exactly. Think of it as your shortcut to getting up to speed on this really significant work.
So get ready for maybe some aha moments.
Yeah, as we explore what escaping the infamous rooster coop actually means and grapple with some, let's face it, pretty uncomfortable truths about power, ambition, and survival.
Okay, so setting the stage a bit. The White Tiger, the author is Aravind Adiga, published back in 2008.
And it won the Man Booker Prize that same year, which is pretty remarkable.
It really is. And its genre, well, it sits firmly in literary fiction, but it's heavy on the social commentary.
And the premise itself is just fascinating. It's, like you said, darkly humorous,
Yeah.
told in the first person, following Ballroom Hallway.
Right. This kid from a poor village background in India who, against all odds, becomes a successful entrepreneur in Bangalore.
But the way it's told is so unique, isn't it? That structure.
Oh, absolutely. The whole thing is a series of letters. Ballroom is writing to the Chinese premier, Wen Jiabao.
Which is just brilliant.
It is as epistolary form, letters. It lets him do so much. He's confessing, he's commenting, he's making these sharp satirical points about India.
So right away, you're thrown into this world of huge contrasts.
Exactly. Rich versus poor, master versus servant, old traditions clashing head-on with this raw, kind of desperate ambition.
Which naturally brings us to Ballroom himself. I mean, he's not your typical hero. What makes him so complex? How does Attica kind of challenge our idea of a protagonist through him?
Well, he's the perfect example of an anti-hero, isn't he? He's central, sure, but he lacks all those conventional heroic qualities.
Smart, yes. But also cynical.
Deeply cynical.
Ah.
And morally, well, ambiguous is putting it mildly, he's a victim of this oppressive system, absolutely.
But he also becomes...
He becomes a perpetrator of violence. And Adiga doesn't shy away from that. He forces you, the reader, to look at the circumstances that create someone like Ballroom. It's unsettling.
And it all revolves around this core metaphor he introduces, the rooster coop. Can you unpack that for us? What is it and how does it relate to Ballroom's escape?
Right, the rooster coop. It sounds literal, and it comes from, how chickens are penned up in markets, waiting for slaughter, seemingly just accepting it.
Okay.
But Adiga uses it as this incredibly powerful symbol for the psychological prison of India's poor. They're exploited, they're trapped, but somehow they accept their fate. They don't really fight back, even when they see what's coming.
So it's more than just poverty.
Oh, much more. It's a state of mind, a kind of mental paralysis, Adiga suggests, that stops people from even imagining a different life, let alone fighting for one.
So Ballroom's escape, it's not just about making money.
Not at all. It's a radical mental break, a rebellion against centuries of being told this is your place. And that's where it gets tricky for us as readers, right? We're forced to wrestle with sympathy, maybe guilt, and the raw question of what it takes to survive.
That really leads us straight into the novel's core themes. And the biggest one has to be class, right?
Yeah.
The brutal honesty about India's class divide, that sort of persistent caste system.
Absolutely. Ballroom's whole life story just lays it bare. You see how rigid, how crushing the system is?
Starting from his village life.
Yeah, the poverty, the subservience, it shows you just how massive the barriers are, almost impossible to overcome. And it highlights the extreme things someone might feel forced to do to get out.
And then there's corruption. Adiga's portrayal is just relentless. How does he use satire to show how deep it runs? It's not just the politicians, is it?
No, and that's what's so sharp about the satire. It's not just pointing fingers at the obvious targets. It shows how corruption isn't just, a moral lapse.
Almost necessary.
Exactly. It becomes a tool, a logical way to operate, to survive, to maybe even get ahead in the India. Ballroom knows. It's everywhere, from the top right down to everyday stuff.
Which forces some really tough ethical questions.
Definitely. Like Ballroom's transformation. He achieves freedom, but through murder. Is that justified? In a system that's so rigged, is personal morality even a feasible option? Adiga doesn't give easy answers. He wants you to squirm a bit.
Yeah, I can see that. And